morning, the earth will give birth to her dead. But this is saying in the future, at the resurrection, this is when this is going to occur. Not now, and it's, there's going to come a time when the dead will rise. But it's not that they go immediately to some other place. In Daniel 12:2, it says, multitudes who sleep in the dust of the earth will awake, some to everlasting life, others to shame and everlasting contempt. So here in Daniel, it's saying that yes, there's going to be a resurrection, there's going to be a time, and there's going to be two classes of people. There's going to be those who are raised to everlasting life, and there's going to be those who are raised to ultimately have judgment placed upon them, or a pronouncement of what their deeds have gotten them, and they'll have everlasting death. Let's also look at death in the New Testament. In John 11:11-14, after he had said this, he went on to tell them, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going there that I might wake him up. Now his disciples are saying, okay, he's had a high fever, he's really sick, and when people are getting over something, they may be, restless, they may have a high, they can't sleep, they whatever else, and now that their fever's broken and things are getting better, they're finally just able to sleep, and the disciples are saying, oh, well, if he's sleeping, that's good. He's recovering, things are getting better. And so Jesus is very frank with them and straightforward with them, and so then he told them plainly, Lazarus is dead. I'm calling it asleep. You're misunderstanding me. You're thinking that he's just sort of resting, but he's actually dead. Yes? That's very true. And the other aspect there is that he called him specifically. He didn't say, okay, everybody come out of the grave. He said, Lazarus, come forth. We need to understand that he is the resurrection and the life, and if he had just said, come forth, all the dead, because he is the source of life. Well, I don't know. You got a good question there. I'm not sure. It says he cried in a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth, in verse 11, chapter 11, 43-44. And he who had died came out, bound hand and foot, and with grave cloths, and his face was wrapped with cloth. And Jesus said, loose him. Now it's interesting because as we look at this situation, Lazarus has been in the grave for 4 days now. If you look at their understanding of reality, they had a belief that, and it may have had some experience where somebody was in a coma, or I don't know what it was, but they thought you could be in the grave for 3 days and you might come back to life. Now, there is no real biblical truth to somebody coming back, but if they did not fully understand how a coma or something else worked, they may have thought that somebody was dead and they came back to life. So that, whatever the reason was, that was their belief. Jesus specifically stayed where he was for that extra time period so that when he came to raise Lazarus, there would be no question in their minds that it was like, oh, well, this is just, one of those gray areas. He was right at that 2.5 days, and he didn't actually perform any great miracle. But he was definitely showing, you want to see what happens? This is beyond what you believe is possible, and I am raising him to life. But I want to look at some other stuff too, because I think it's important.